What's up, adventurers? Welcome back to A Dungeon Master's Tome. I'm Tyler, and I think nat 20s are totally overrated. Today we're going to do something a little different. A list of 10 magic items in D&D 5e that are totally underrated. Now, these aren't your typical flashy artifacts, but trust me, with a little creativity, they can completely change the game for you and your party. So, whether you're a DM looking to spice up your campaign, or you're a player wanting to get the most out of your loot, stick around. This is going to be a fun one. Let's kick things off with the Immovable Rod. This item might not seem like much at first. It's just a rod that you can click and make stay in place, right? Right. The Immovable Rod's description is as follows. This flat iron rod has a button at one end. You can use an action to press the button, which causes the rod to become magically fixed in place. Until you or another creature uses an action to push the button again, the rod doesn't move, even if it's defying gravity. The rod can hold up to 8,000 pounds of weight. More weight causes the rod to deactivate and fall. A creature can use an action to make a DC 30 strength check, moving the fixed rod up to 10 feet on a success. Imagine, if you will, in a chase scene, your party is being pursued down a narrow alley. Instead of trying to outrun the enemy, what if you just click that rod in place behind you? Suddenly, you've got a perfect barricade that'll stop them in their tracks. Or, let's say you're exploring a dungeon and need to cross a chasm. With 2 immovable rods, you can create a makeshift bridge in midair. Now, if you want to get really creative or abusive, think about how you can use this in combat. Click the rod in place just above an enemy's head and they're suddenly stuck, unable to move forward. Or how about using it to hold a door open or closed, just when you need it most? One example I thought of, let's say you've been eaten by a dragon or some other crazy creature. What would happen if you activated your immovable rod? When the dragon ran forward, the rod could rip right through them, giving you an easy escape route, and the dragon some serious internal eviscerating injuries. The possibilities are endless, and that's why the immovable rod deserves way more love. Next up, we have the Decanter of Endless Water. This one is a true gem, and not just because you'll never go thirsty, though that's a big plus. The decanter can produce an endless supply of water, which might sound pretty basic, but it's the sheer volume and versatility of the water that makes it powerful. Though this one actually caused some controversy in my Discord community chat when players discovered the high cost to purchase this otherwise unassuming magic item. And speaking of high-value items, if you're looking to get even more out of your TTRPG experience, you should check out my Patreon. Like the Decanter of Endless Water, supporting me there is like unlocking an endless supply of bonus content, ad-free episodes, and even exclusive giveaways. So if you want to help make TTRPGs my full-time gig and get some awesome rewards along the way, the link's in the description below. Back to the Decanter of Endless Water. From the item's description, you can use an action to remove the stopper and speak one of 3 command words, whereupon an amount of fresh water or salt water, it's your choice, pours out of the flask. The water stops pouring out at the start of your next turn, which is about 6 seconds. You can choose from the following options: a stream, which produces 1 gallon of water, a fountain, which produces 5 gallons of water, or a geyser, which produces 30 gallons of water that gushes forth in a geyser 30 feet long and 1 foot wide. As a bonus action while holding the decanter, you can aim the geyser at a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The target then must succeed on a DC 13 saving throw or take 1d4 bludgeoning damage and fall prone. Instead of a creature, you can target an object that isn't being worn or carried and that weighs no more than 200 pounds. The object is either knocked over or pushed away up to 15 feet from you. Let's start with something simple. Flooding a room. Need to flush out some enemies hiding in a lower level? Unleash a torrent of water and let physics do the rest. Or maybe you need a quick way to put out a fire, or even create a slippery surface to trip up your foes. The Decanter can do all that and more. But let's get into the real fun. The Decanter can produce salt water. Imagine you're laying siege to an enemy castle. Why not just poison their water supply with salt water? Suddenly their stores are useless, and they'll either have to surrender or try to get fresh water from somewhere else. Or let's take it even further. What if you're in a desert? Use the Decanter to create an oasis. You could become the only reliable source of water in the area, making you a powerful figure among the local population. It's this kind of creative abuse that turns the Decanter of Endless Water from a neat little party trick into a game changer. Heck, if your DM is thinking on their feet, this could be the start to an adventure on its own. But moving on, our next item is the Bag of Tricks. This little bag might seem like a joke. After all, it just summons random animals, right? But that randomness is exactly what makes it so much fun. The item reads, "This ordinary bag made from gray rust or tan cloth appears empty. Reaching inside the bag, however, reveals the presence of a small fuzzy object. The bag weighs half a pound, and you can use an action to pull the fuzzy object from the bag and throw it up to 20 feet. When the object lands, it transforms into a creature you determine by rolling a d8 and consulting the table that corresponds to the bag's color. The creature vanishes at next dawn or when it's reduced to 0 hit points. The creature is friendly to you and your companions, and it acts on your turn. You can use a bonus action to command how the creature moves and what action it takes on its next turn, or give it general orders, such as to attack your enemies. In the absence of such orders, the creature acts in a fashion appropriate to its nature. Once 3 fuzzy objects have been pulled from the bag can't be used again until the next dawn. Bag of Tricks is perfect for when you need a quick distraction. Throw out a creature in the middle of combat and watch as your enemies suddenly have to deal with a giant badger or a panther. Even if the creature isn't that powerful, it can still give you the edge by confusing or overwhelming your opponents. But the real fun comes from thinking outside the box. Let's say you're in a situation where you need to sneak into a guarded fortress. Why not summon a monkey to steal the keys, or a weasel to slip through a narrow opening and cause some chaos? Or how about summoning a creature to set off traps before your party moves in? Here's a little twist. If you're clever, you can use the Bag of Tricks to create a little mini army. In a pinch, these animals can become disposable shock troops, allowing you to swarm enemies with numbers that they weren't expecting. Sure, the item does limit the number of creatures that you can pull out to 3 per day, but what if you craft a bunch of them for some creative fun ahead of time, or have multiple bags of tricks? This item encourages creativity, and the more you play with it, the more you'll realize just how versatile it really is. Now our next item might seem pretty straightforward, the Rope of Climbing. But don't let the simplicity fool you. This 60-foot length of silk rope weighs 3 pounds and can hold up to 3,000 pounds. If you hold one end of the rope and use an action to speak the command word, the rope animates. As a bonus action, you can command the other end to move towards a destination that you choose. That end can move 10 feet on your turn when you first command it, and 10 feet on each of your turns until reaching its destination. It can go up to its maximum length away, or until you tell it to stop. You can also tell the rope to fasten itself securely to an object, or unfasten itself to a knot, or unknot itself, or to coil itself for carrying. If you tell the rope to knot, large knots appear at 1-foot intervals along the rope. While knotted, the rope shortens to a 50-foot length and grants advantage on checks made to climb it. Here's one use. In a dungeon with a lot of vertical challenges, this rope can make traversing those tricky areas a breeze. No more worrying about who has the best climbing skills. Just tell the rope to do its thing and you're golden. But let's think bigger. What if you need to secure an enemy quickly? Tell the rope to tie them up while you focus on something else. Or use it to create instant tripwires during an ambush. Set it up at ankle height and you've got yourself a trap that can knock foes off balance. And here's a fun idea. What if you're in an area with complex terrain or a labyrinth dungeon? Use your rope to map your way back. Have it follow you, then command it to lead you back out. This rope is far more than just a tool for climbing. It's a strategic asset that can be used in countless ways. Next up, the Cape of the Mountbank. It's another one that's often overlooked. It lets you cast a Dimension Door once per day, which means instant teleportation for you and a friend. In the right hands, this cape is incredibly powerful. Let's say you're in a battle that's going south. No problem. Use the cape to teleport to safety. Or maybe you're trying to get the drop on an enemy. Dimension Door. It lets you appear right behind them for a surprise attack. Dimension Door used to have a size restriction that you could only bring a willing creature your size or smaller, which made it harder to pick if you were a small race like a halfling or a goblin. But in the 2024 Player's Handbook, there's no size restriction. So if you have an ancient dragon friend, you can bring them along too. But where this cape really shines is in its potential for mischief. Imagine teleporting into a secure vault, grabbing the loot, and then teleporting right back out before anyone even knows you were there. Or what if you use it to infiltrate enemy territory, bypassing walls, gates, or other defenses with ease? Of course, you then have to figure out how to get back out again, but I'm not here to solve the entire adventure for you. What kind of DM would I be then, huh? And here's something to think about. Dimension Door isn't limited by sight. You could use it to escape from a tight spot by teleporting to a known location, even if you can't see it. Or if you're feeling risky, use it to reach places that would be otherwise inaccessible. The Cape of Mountbank is the ultimate escape tool, but with some creativity. The ticket to pulling off heists or getting the drop on your enemies. The cape does also have a little trick behind its sleeve. When you disappear, you leave behind a cloud of smoke, and you appear in a similar cloud of smoke at your destination. The smoke lightly obscures the space you left and the space you appear in, and it dissipates at the end of your next turn. A light or strong wind can also dissipate the smoke, but let's say you teleport. You get a little bit of protection for a turn. Cool, huh? One of my players used this next item to great effect, nullifying some of my most terrifying monsters. So let's talk about the Eversmoking Bottle. When you open this bottle, it fills the area with thick smoke, and it just keeps coming until you close it. On the surface, it might seem like just a way to create cover, but there's so much more to it than that. First off, this smoke can obscure vision, making it perfect for quick getaways or ambushes. If your party is outnumbered, pop the bottle and disappear into the smoke, or use it to create confusion among your enemies. They won't know where you are, but you'll know exactly where they are. But here's where things get really interesting. Imagine using the Eversmoking Bottle in a confined space. Let's say you're in a cave or a dungeon with narrow corridors. Fill the area with smoke, and suddenly your enemies are panicking, bumping into walls or even each other. Meanwhile, you and your party can move through the smoke with ease, picking off enemies one by one. Or take it to the battlefield. Use the smoke to create a barrier between your forces and the enemy. They can't see what you're doing, but you can set up traps, prepare spells, or even retreat without them knowing. Heavy obscurement makes everyone blinded, so that they have disadvantage when attacking, but also advantage because they're unseen by their enemies. So if you're facing enemies with pack tactics, or a source of advantage, or you already have disadvantage, this turns everything into a straight roll, where no one can get advantage or disadvantage. It's bad for a rogue and barbarian, so use it cautiously. The main best thing about it is that it prevents spells that require sight, which is a lot. You usually need to see your target, so this can stop dangerous mages right in their tracks. It also makes it hard to teleport away because most short-range teleport spells, except for Dimension Door, require you to see where you're going. To get advantage while the enemy has disadvantage, you need one of these. The old blind fighting style, which is gone in 5.24, it lets you see in the Eversmoking area. Or you can use the newly revised Skulker feat, which now gives 10 feet of blind sight. Rangers get 30 feet of blind sight at level 18, and dwarves now get tremor sense, which can help for attacks, but it won't let you see for the purpose of using spells. The Eversmoking Bottle might be my favorite, and it turns any environment into a tactical playground. And with some creative thinking, it can become one of the most disruptive items in your arsenal. Next up, the Alchemical Jug. This is another item that seems simple on the surface, but has incredible potential. It can produce different liquids, acid, poison, oil, freshwater, and more, each with its own unique uses. So let's start with combat. You can produce acid or poison, and imagine pouring that acid on a locked door and a chain to dissolve it quickly, or coating your weapons with the poison for a nasty surprise in battle. But let's not stop there. This jug can produce oil, which is flammable. Pour it out and set it ablaze for an instant battlefield hazard. Need to slow down a group of enemies? Cover the ground in oil and watch them struggle to stay on their feet. And here's a little twist. Use the jug's ability to produce fresh water to help out in a survival situation. If your party's stranded in the desert, this jug could literally be the difference between life and death. Or what if you're in a scenario where resources are scarce? You could use this jug to produce valuable commodities like fresh water or wine and trade them for other goods or favors. You can use the Alchemy Jug every day to make a vial of acid, which is worth 25 gold, or a dose of basic poison, which is worth about 100 gold. When you find or start a black market, you can unload your inventory and make a pretty penny. Just keep it somewhere safe in the meantime. The Alchemical Jug is an item that rewards players who think ahead and use it in creative ways, turning everyday situations into opportunities for clever problem solving. Next on the list, this one's super cool, the Boots of the Winterlands. They might not seem like much, but in the right campaign, they're absolutely essential. These boots give you resistance to cold damage and let you move easily through difficult terrain in cold environments. You ignore difficult terrain created by ice or snow. You can tolerate temperatures as low as -50 degrees Fahrenheit without any additional protection. But if you are wearing heavy clothing, you can tolerate temperatures as low as -100 degrees Fahrenheit. Holy potatoes, Batman. So if your campaign takes you into the frozen north, these boots are a must-have. You'll be able to travel through snow and ice with ease. And the cold resistance could be a lifesaver in combat against frost-based creatures. But let's talk about how you can really make the most of these boots. If you're the only one in the party with them, you can scout ahead in cold environments without worrying about getting slowed down or taking damage. Or use your mobility advantage to set up ambushes in snowy terrain, where your enemies will struggle to keep up. And here's a fun idea. Use the boots to access areas that others can't. Maybe there's a hidden path through a snow-covered mountain that's impassable. But with these boots, you can make the trek and discover what lies beyond. While wearing them, you could cover yourself in snow or ice and lay a trap, setting up the perfect surprise against your DM's NPCs. In campaigns set in cold environments, the Boots of the Winterlands are in value, and with a little creativity, they can open up opportunities that others might overlook. The next item on our list is a classic, the Wand of Web. This item often doesn't get the attention it deserves. This wand lets you cast the Web spell, which can be a game changer in the right situation. The Web spell is all about control. Use it to trap enemies, block passages, or create barriers that slow down advancing foes. In combat, it's perfect for crowd control, especially if you're facing multiple enemies. Cast Web, and suddenly they're stuck, giving your party time to deal with them one by one. But let's think outside of combat for a minute. Imagine using the wand to secure an area before a long rest. Web up the entrances to keep out unwanted visitors. Or if you need to create a quick shelter, use the webbing as a makeshift roof, or walls to protect against the elements. And here's a little twist. Web is flammable. I've been advised not to tell you this trick, but I'm going to anyways. Set it on fire after trapping enemies to deal extra damage, or to force them to make some tough choices. Stay in the web and burn, or break free and face your party's wrath. This is a great one to hand to a familiar, summon, or NPC to make them more useful in combat. as long as your DM rules that they have the intelligence and hands to use it. The Wand of Web is an item that offers both offensive and defensive options, and with a little creativity, it can turn the tide in almost any encounter. And if you're like me and love coming up with creative ways to use items like the Wand of Web, you should consider joining my Discord community. It's a place where we discuss tactics, share stories, and brainstorm crazy strategies together. Plus, it's a great way to connect with other D&D enthusiasts. The link's in the description below. And when you get there, make sure to bring the last item on our list, the Amulet of the Devout. This amulet is a boon for any cleric or paladin, increasing the DC of their spells and giving them extra charges for channel divinity. This might seem like a niche item, but in the hands of a divine spellcaster, it can be devastating. Spells that rely on saving throws like Hold Person or Banishment become even harder to resist, which can turn a tough fight into a quick victory. But let's think of how you can really push the limits with this amulet. If you're a cleric, use the extra channel divinity charges to keep your party in the fight longer, whether it's by healing them, turning undead, or even creating new undead allies. And for paladins, this amulet can make your smites even more powerful. Yes! Increase the spell DC means that enemies are less likely to resist your divine spells, and those extra channel divinity charges mean more chances to turn the tide in battle. There are similar items for wizards, druids, warlocks, and sorcerers. They all increase your spell save by a DC of 1 to 3 depending on the rarity, and they have additional effects, like the Rod of the Pact Keeper give you a pact slot. The Bloodwell Vial gives you a way to regain sorcery points, but the thing that makes the Amulet of the Devout differ from all the other spells is that it's the only one that doesn't specify that it increases the DC if you're paladin or cleric, where the others only raise the DC of a specific class's spells. So if you're a druid with a level of cleric for heavy armor, you can have the Amulet of the Devout and the Moonsickle to increase your druid spell DC by up to +6. Even better is a sorcerer with a level of paladin. They can do all that and add an additional +1 DC with the new innate sorcery feature. The Amulet of the Devout might seem like a simple boost to your abilities, but in the right hands, it can make a divine spellcaster truly, truly fearsome. And if you're looking to dominate the battlefield or protect your party, this amulet is a must-have. So there you have it, friends. The top 10 underrated magic items in D&D 5e. Each of these items has so much potential, and with a little creativity, they can turn your campaign on its head. Whether you're a player looking to get the most out of your loot, or a DM wanting to throw in some unexpected twists, these items are sure to make your game exciting. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell icon so that you don't miss out on more D&D content. And as always, my friends, keep rolling those dice, and may the quests be epic. I told you! I'm not telling you my real name, silly demon. Shh. Wait, I'm gonna use you to surprise my players on the next game.